All right, let's dive in. Today, we are talking about a molecule I'm sure you've heard of, serotonin. But I bet you have never heard its story told quite like this. It's an epic tale that stretches back 3 billion years, and it connects the sun in the sky directly to the mood in your mind. And it all kicks off with one really big question. I mean, think about it. This one molecule, serotonin, is tangled up in just about everything, from how you feel to how you digest your food to how you learn. How in the world can a single chemical have its hands in so many different pots? It seems almost impossible. But the answer, believe it or not, isn't really in our brains. It's in our planet's deep, deep past.
Yup, you heard that right. To really get a handle on the serotonin working in your brain at this very moment, we have to go way, way back to a primordial Earth, a time with almost no oxygen, when the very first, simplest forms of life were just trying to figure out how to make a living. The story of our most complex emotions actually begins with the most basic element of life, grabbing energy from the sun.
And here's the first twist. The main character of our story isn't actually serotonin. Nope. It's its ancestor, the molecule it's made from, an essential amino acid called tryptophan. To understand serotonin, you have to understand where it comes from, and tryptophan is the real unsung hero here.
So what's so special about tryptophan? Well, its secret weapon is its shape. See, it has this special structure called an indole ring. And for our purposes, you can just think of this ring as life's very first teeny tiny solar panel. It's a structure that is just brilliant at doing one specific thing, catching sunlight. So, 3 billion years ago, these ancient bacteria figured out how to use tryptophan's little solar panel. And that simple trick became the engine for the first photosynthesis ever. Now, this process started pumping out what was, for them, a waste product, but for us, it changed everything. Oxygen. The very air you're breathing right now exists, in large part, thanks to this ancient chemical reaction.
So how did it actually work? Well, it's pretty elegant. That indole ring in tryptophan soaks up a photon of light. This gets the ring all excited, and it spits out an electron, creating a tiny little spark of energy. That spark is then used to power a chemical assembly line that turns carbon dioxide and water into food and oxygen. It is the absolute foundation for almost all life on this planet. And don't just take my word for it. The source material for this explainer puts it pretty bluntly. This whole process of turning sunlight into biological energy is, quite simply, the most important biochemical process on Earth. End of story. So, for billions of years, this is how life worked. But, evolution keeps moving, and eventually life came to a huge fork in the road. It split into two major strategies. You had plants, which decided to stay put and make their own food, and then you had animals, which started moving around to find their food. This single decision changed their relationship with tryptophan forever. So, on one hand, you have plants. They're the producers. They kept that original sun-catching machinery, and they still make their own tryptophan to power photosynthesis. But animals? We became consumers. We actually lost the ability to make tryptophan on our own. We have to eat it now. And instead of using it mainly for energy, our bodies repurposed it for a brand new, super important job as the essential building block for making serotonin. But this created a whole new headache for us animals. You see, getting enough tryptophan to our brains is surprisingly tricky. It's actually the rarest amino acid in most of the proteins we eat. And even when we do get it, it has to fight its way through the bloodstream and across the blood-brain barrier, basically competing with a flood of other amino acids for a very limited number of tickets to get inside. It's a constant biological bottleneck just to get the raw materials for serotonin. So what does any of this ancient history have to do with you right now in your daily life? Well, this is where it all clicks together. That ancient light-capturing ability of tryptophan, it didn't just vanish in animals. It's still there, kind of like an echo, running through our modern biology. That's right. The same basic mechanism that powered the very first photosynthesis is still working inside of us. Tryptophan molecules are in the light-sensing proteins in our eyes, helping us to see. They're involved in how our skin reacts to sunlight. We never threw the hardware away, we just built it into new, more complex systems. And you can see this amazing connection written right into the spectrum of light itself. Plants use both red and blue light to do their thing.
Well, for us humans, that very same blue light is what's been shown to be most effective for treating things like seasonal affective disorder. And UVA light, that's what our bodies use to make essential vitamin D. The connection is still there.
And as Ephraim Azmitia, the author of our source text, puts it so perfectly, there is a direct, unbroken evolutionary line connecting sunlight's effect on ancient bacteria to sunlight's effect on our mood and mental health today. Our brains are, in a very real and literal sense, wired for sunlight. This incredibly deep evolutionary history, this ancient link to the sun's energy, it helps explain why serotonin's influence is just so massive. It's not just some happy chemical. It's a fundamental regulator of our body's homeostasis, our internal balance. It manages everything from sleep cycles to digestion and even works at the cellular level, influencing growth and aging.
So, to finally answer our original question, how can one chemical do so much? It's because it evolved over billions of years to be a master regulator. Its job is to take information from the outside world, especially the presence or absence of light, and use that info to help balance all the complex systems of our mind and body. Which, of course, brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought, especially when you think about our modern lives. We've just traced this 3 billion-year-old biological connection to the sun. So, what happens when we break that connection? I mean, we've built a world full of offices and screens and artificial light. We spend more time inside than any humans in history. So if our entire serotonin system is fundamentally tuned to the rhythm of the sun, what are the consequences of living our lives almost completely disconnected from it? That's a question worth thinking about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.